All right, for those folks online, I skipped through the first two slides, but it's okay. Just talk to me. Anyway, next slide. Runny nose. Some marine birds have evolved life over sea and salt water. Their diet and drinking water consists, obviously, of salty water. So it is removed via salt glands located above each eye. And we have a picture of that actually in our book. Looks like this. So there's a seagull. There's a salt gland right above its eye. That's where it removes salt in order to maintain normal levels of sodium. Salt gland right there. Yeah. One sec. Okay. We're just going to finish it out today. Nervous and sensory system. So they exhibit complex functions not found in previous animals in the line. So I think we might have discussed this, where a large python can get a deer and sit for like 3 months and just hang out. And it mainly gets those deer not by hunting, but by chance. Whereas birds, as you all know, they have very unique and diverse ways of gathering food. Like a robin. What's unique about the robin's food gathering? Talked about it yesterday. They hop. Yep. And they also are able to tilt their head to listen to the worms underneath them. Or ducks, they I don't know what you want to call it. They dip their head into the water to get mud off the bottom that has food in it. Predatory birds, so like birds that actively hunt, such as hawks and eagles, any raptors, I suppose. They hunt to gather food, and they do this flying very high and using their eyesight to see prey. So they mate, incubate, and rear young. Again, like their previous ancestors, I guess, the reptiles, these birds incubate and raise their young, whereas a reptile would not. Maybe incubate. Reptiles may incubate some, but raising their young, no, probably not. They'd probably, if they saw their young in the wild, would eat it rather than raise it. Whereas birds, they can't survive on their own for their first couple months, so they need parents to support them. Central nervous system. So there's cerebral hemispheres. Take a guess what that means. Yeah, there you go. 2 parts of the brain. Yep. So they got left and a right side, and they also have their cerebellum. We talked about this before, but a cerebellum is like old world. I always think it's called the old brain. That's what I call it. That's because that does all of the stuff that keeps you alive, like very, very basic functions. Whereas the cerebral hemispheres contribute to a lot more of your advanced neural pathways. And I won't talk about it right now. We'll skip that. So the midbrain tectum serves as the optic lobes. It's, especially in raptors, it's very advanced, even compared to humans. And this is because they have unique eyes that give them the ability to see a lot clearer, so they need a larger processing center for those. So the midbrain tectum would be that processing center. The cerebral cortex. Chief coordinating center of the mammalian brain. Oh, okay. So the cerebral cortex, our cerebral cortex, is the chief coordinating center of the mammalian brain, meaning it's like, what's that called? At an airport, radio control center. So it's like a flight control center, basically, for mammals. And then we have the corpus striatum. It's the integrative center. I hate to put Mr. McKenney on the spot, but maybe he could elaborate on these two better than I could.
Okay, let's see here. So when we're talking about a coordinating center, okay, for those of you who have had human A and P, what are 4 functions of the human cerebral cortex? Memory. So language, emotions, okay, and then what a klutz. What a klutz. So yes, coordination, okay. So a lot of those same aspects you would see here as well within the cerebral cortex. Now, the corpus striatum, okay, now, yes, that's an integrative center that works with this because I think is there another part of the brain that deals with flight? I don't think it's this one. Is there 3, or is it singing? Is it on your sheet? That's what I'm asking.
Maybe I missed that. I don't think so.
Might be on the other side.
Would it be the midbrain tectum?
Possibly.
No, we didn't talk about that.
Okay. So the cerebral cortex would deal with that of singing very much with that of humans and mammals. Okay. So yes. So sometimes what you learned here in A and P would help you with this. Okay. Because think about some of these aspects to where you're driving down the road. Okay. There's a couple birds sitting right here, and if it's far enough on one side of the road or the other, they got one side to pick. If you're on the right side of the road and they go towards the center, I did that on purpose.
It's good representation.
Yeah. I can't believe that. That's how I wanted it to work out. I did not do that on purpose. And I feel bad, just as bad as the next person. I do not like hitting birds. I'll try to slow down as much as we can, but sometimes there's no avoiding it. But, so this, as you can see, is probably, this corpus striatum is kind of like the amygdala, I would presume. If you remember, what is that in human terms? It's on the brainstem, and that actually sends out the stress signals. Okay, so cerebral cortex, very similar to that birds as well as humans. Okay.
Awesome. Absolutely. And I just got, I don't know, it's more of a interesting fact. In our brain, we have a thing called a pituitary. I might be mixing it up. One sec. Pineal pituitary. I gotta remember. Yeah, pineal gland. So in birds, this, and it's often called the third eye. So you know what I'm talking about, third eye. It's more of a spiritual thing when you reference third eye, but the pineal gland has also been called the third eye because it actually has optic nerves in it. So an ability to see light. And in us, it doesn't matter that much because there's a lot of brain in between the pineal gland. I'll pull up a picture. It's right here, right? Basically right dead center in the brain. It's right in the center of the brain, right there. And I forget what happens in humans with that, but it doesn't really matter. For birds, it's where they suppose instinct comes from. So those optic nerves, we'll go to birds. This also happens with reptiles too. Yeah, right there. So in birds, pineal gland sits on the very top, so it is able to sense some light through there, and it gives the birds like, hey, it's time to migrate now, because it senses the amount of daylight it sees over and over, and as days get shorter, they're like, shoot, we need to go south, or hey, it's about time to go north. So that's what the pineal gland does. I think it's a theory more than an actual fact, but it does have optic nerves, and it is linked to instinctive habits in birds. Lizards use the pineal gland sometimes when, like, predators are overhead, like say a hawk is flying overhead. It can see through that pineal gland shadows above it. It's not super good, like our vision, but it's more of a senses shadows above it, and it runs away if it sees a dark spot. So pineal gland. Okay, that's it. That's all I have. How's your worksheets coming? I'll end the video first before I get to them. All right, goodbye.